Action!
Hello, AOS fans.
Hello, everyone.
How is everybody this evening? How are you, Robin?
I'm not too bad, thank you. I realised I haven't muted YouTube again, so I quickly did that.
You're feeling silly this evening.
I only remember when the explosion goes.
And everybody craps themselves.
I want to stop that now. Yeah, how is everybody? There's 10 of you watching, which shows that our sort of lockdown banter is dwindling slowly.
It is a little bit, yeah. Yeah, we've got VJ and Hornrat Minis have both put a shout out. And Milky Paints as well. Hello, people. Hello to you all.
Yes.
Yeah, hopefully everybody else isn't suffering too much from the lockdown madness, but I think I'm starting to get. It's starting to get to me. I think.
It's definitely getting to me. I think. I mean, I don't know how much we want to talk about this. I suppose it's good therapy.
We've got up an hour and a half to fill, so we've got to find something.
When the situation was, don't go out, stay safe, protect the NHS or whatever it was, and you kind of knew where you were at with that.
Yeah. And
now it's kind of like, stay in, but you can go out. You can go out for unlimited exercise. I mean, who does unlimited exercise?
Apart from Joe Wicks.
But you can talk to one person in the park, but not two people.
And if you see two people that you know, you have to leave the park. You can't stay in the park.
You can talk to your mum or dad in the park, but you can't talk to either of them at their house. So if they're sort of in their 70s, they can go down to the park and you can talk to them, but you can't talk to them in their house.
Yeah.
Or one of them can sit in the car while you talk to the other one, and then they can swap over. But you can't talk to both of them at once, whatever happens.
And you can't make eye
anyway,
contact.
yes, as Malachi says, hope everyone is alert. I am definitely alert. I haven't seen anywhere, and I'm disappointed. The ultimate dad joke. I haven't seen about be alert. Your country needs alerts. I mean, that is not the ultimate dad joke.
I already saw a thing on.
Anywhere.
I already saw a thing on Facebook which had a T-shirt which just had alert written on it. Just alert. It's like you could buy that when people say, "What's that?" You can say, "I'm alert."
I see. I like it. Much better than last week, VJ says. His government support funds have come in, so I actually feel like I've grown up again. Yeah, I'm really lucky. I'm sitting here kind of semi-moaning about it. I'm really lucky that I'm a layabout professionally, and my wife is working full time. So, things could be an awful lot worse for us, and a lot of people have got it much harder. A friend of mine who's I can't exactly remember what he does. He's changed job recently, but I think he's the head of A&E in a London hospital. He put some pictures of how much it's at National Nurses Day apparently, so International Nurses Day. They put some pictures of him after a shift with his PPE on, and his face is like all mangled because the PPE is pinching him around the face. It's just like teaching my kids is. And buying miniatures is much easier than that.
Yeah, and sitting here talking on nonsense on YouTube. If I'd known it was National Nurses Day, I would have got my wife an outfit. I suspect that's not what it means.
I don't think it is. I don't think it is.
You never know. So, we're here tonight to talk about roleplay. Let's talk about RPG. Let's talk about you and me. So, it's SoulBound. Cubicle 7, is it? Cubicle 7?
Cubicle 7. I don't actually know why they're called Cubicle 7, because it's an interesting name, I think.
Maybe that was the cubicle that they came up with their best idea in, and that's when they went with it.
Yeah, maybe that was it. Or maybe that was the one that was always empty in the toilets, and that's the one they used. I don't know. VJ
says that all of his work is in the entertainment industry, so that went to zero pretty fast. That's painful. That's not great at all, so yeah.
Okay. Hello, Ed's in the house.
Ed's in the house. We also have Dead Hands online.
We missed that connection there. Your wife refuses roleplay with you.
Damn. Yeah. Oh, you got to pass a charisma test. You failed. I haven't rolled a dice. You failed. You don't need to roll the dice. It's one of those moments where the DM rolls the dice behind their screen. Oh, you failed. You didn't roll the dice. Yeah. You want me to pretend? All right then. Or when you say to your, to the people playing, you're like, you want to do so and so, okay, and then you just roll the dice whilst maintaining eye contact with them, and then you go, you didn't find anything. You didn't look.
Didn't find any traps. That's my favourite GMing line.
Yeah, pretty much. You didn't find any traps. We didn't say we were looking for traps. No. This is why you're on your fourth character, Pete. BJ's wife is a nurse, and so is Hornrat Minis. Well, God bless them all. That's all I say.
Yes.
They really are the angels at the minute.
Yeah. My thanks go out to them. And tough.
So let's talk about SoulBound, shall we? Just came out. Was it yesterday? It came out. Was it the day before?
It was. I think it was. Well, no. I think it was. Well, where are we? I don't know. I can't remember. I think I was working at the weekend, wasn't I? So I think
must have been last week.
Must have been Friday. Yeah. I think our video came out yesterday.
The days blend together.
Not quite the same thing.
The days will blend together, and now this is the role play in the AOS, the Age of Sigmar universe. For anybody who's not really 100% sure what it's all about, and I'm intrigued by this version because it's like in previous versions of the game, or Warhammer Underworlds, Into the Glory Hole says bedtime story. Once upon a time.
You don't mean Underworlds, do you, Pete?
No, I don't mean Underworlds. I mean in Warhammer, in the original world of fantasy roleplay. You used to start your adventure and you were like, a chewing gum scraper, or, pleb who licks somebody's thumb when they need to turn the page. That was where you started. Rat catcher, yeah. You were the lowest level of plebbiness that you had like a weapon skill of 1. And, you had to roll a dice every 5 minutes, and on a 6 you fell over dead from just disease. And now, in SoulBound, you're like, I think I'll be a Stormcast as a base level.
Venator.
Exactly. But hang on, they're a bit mental.
Well, I guess it befits the universe.
That is true.
I guess it befits the universe in the sense that it's much more heroic and epic. And everything is big and loud and
explosive.
Yes, so you can be some quite cool things. We've only done one video at the moment, if anybody watched it, about the overview of character creation. But I'm going to do the archetypes, kind of look at the archetypes in the next video. And there's some interesting things in there. Like I say, Pete said, you can be a Stormcast, you can be various flavors of elf, you could be a Dark Elf. I forgot what they're called off the top of my head.
Yeah, Daughters of Cain.
Can you be a Stormcast Eternal Receptionist? I guess you can. I mean, although there are set archetypes, they are very clear that you can make your own archetypes. So if you want to be a receptionist into the glory hole, then you can.
They probably don't get reforged that often. I'm guessing. Probably on their first forging still, just sitting behind the desk.
You can play a first forged Stormcast. It does say that. Normally you don't. Normally you've been forged at least once, but you can play. You can actually request that it is your debut forging.
Yeah, I'm not sure what difference that makes. It just, the more times you get forged, the more sort of like automata you become.
It does explain it, but I haven't gone into it in any depth. But yes, the more you have, the more kind of, the less of a person you are, I suppose.
So I think for our old roleplay group, we would all probably take 20th forging Stormcast, because none of us do any of the roleplay at all. Like, we'll attack them, then we'll take all the gold, and we'll set fire to all the bodies just in case.
Yeah, I'm not sure taking all the gold is part of it. Maybe it is. I don't know.
I'm sure that we'd find a reason to justify doing it.
Oh, yeah. Well, we often talk about our mysterious member of our group who's a monk and holier than thou order, but he always loots the bodies looking for loose change.
I'm pretty sure the last time we went into a dungeon, he was the only one pushing to actually open a crypt so we could see what was inside when we had no reason to be in there.
No, I don't think we should do that.
Yeah, you're the thief going, do we really want to rob stuff from people?
It's quite funny how we refer to type, because he's actually a criminal, and I'm just really nice.
Yeah, it is. I think that's the problem, that we're already off the subject of SoulBound. We'll come back to it at various points. We'll loop it back in. But I find that's the problem always with these kind of things, that everybody's got their own character in the real world. Obviously, everybody plays themselves, and everybody has a type that they play when they play role-playing games. And quite often,
I'm not sure everybody. I mean, obviously, my experience is only of my playing it, if that makes sense. But I do always, no matter how hard I try, I always revert to type. But I imagine there are people out there who can act a whole role over a period of weeks and sessions. But I tend to only remember the first session, and after that, they just revert back to the same person. And at least this time, I recognise that in myself. So although I'd never played a thief before, and people say, well, you should play the thief because we've done various character restorations. I said, all right then. I deliberately wrote the backstory why why I wouldn't just rob people blind.
So even then, you're like,
So,
I may be a thief, but I give all of my thefts to proceeds to charity.
well, it was a bit like that actually. Yeah, it wasn't quite that Robin Hood, but it was a bit like that. My backstory. So it just got me out of having to steal things. My thing was mainly just to play jokes on people, rather than nick things.
Yeah, yeah. But I think I mean you get a lot of people. There's always the member of the party who takes control. There's always that member of the not party, but just the friend circle generally. There's always the outspoken, loud person who always takes over. Yeah, there's always the person that pretty much sits at the back and doesn't say anything ever. There's always the person who doesn't know what dice we're meant to be using this week. So you always have those characters.
Yeah, that's our group.
Yeah,
Ed says the last character he assumed in a board game was a crazed heroin addict. You were addicted to heroines. You spelt heroines. Like heroin.
Yeah, he couldn't get enough of them. Couldn't get enough of them. Women in danger, needing help. He was all over that.
Make of that what you will.
Yeah, did you have to do much role play for that one, Ed? But so you always have that kind of group dynamic, and then you sort of go, oh, let's try something different this time. So we'll make the loud, outspoken person like the peaceful, holier than thou monk, and we'll make the person who's more thoughtful the whatever, the barbarian or whatever, and then everybody just reverts to types. You just have these really mismatched character personalities. You're like, maybe we should just play the characters. Yeah, play the thing we played in the first place, because that's just how we do.
Yeah, I know, but I'm interested to see how the archetypes, as it were, I mean archetypes in a general sense rather than in the SoulBound sense, actually translate into the SoulBound game, because they, as I say, it is much more epic and heroic. So there aren't thieves as such, and you are kind of supposed to be working towards the whole point of being SoulBound is that you've actually given up part of your soul to work for the kind of greater good of the mortal realm. So basically stop destruction, chaos and death from doing their stuff. So you have effectively signed up for it on the side of order, although you can play Oryx if you want to. Although I haven't got that from the book because it's right at the end.
Yeah, it's right at the end. It's not like, I don't think it gives you the outlines for it, or I'm not sure it gives you everything, but you've got. No,
and one interesting thing, and Ed will be excited about this, they were going to include an archetype of lizard men, but apparently I just learned this today. They had to pull it because GW redid the tome recently, didn't they? And I think there was some question about how, because I think Games Workshop kind of changed what they are.
Well, lizard men always used to be like divine demons almost originally. They used to get summoned in. I think in the latest book they've added 2 kinds now. So there's like the divine summonable lizard men, and then there's like the regular old-fashioned sort of. Right.
Well, I think so. They didn't want to tread on any toes there, so apparently they've pulled that, and it will be released further down the line. Which is quite interesting because I actually quite fancy playing a lizard man. That'd be quite cool.
I mean, not only can you be a stormcast in this game, you can be a dwarf or dwarden, whichever. But it's not just like you're not a regular dwarden. You can be like a fire slayer. So you can be a bloke with your hair literally on fire and running around naked.
You can be a Caradon Overlord.
Or you can be a Caradon Overlord. So you can literally be a sky pirate. You can be an elf, which for some reason means you can be a daughter of Cain, who's somebody who likes sacrificing people and cutting the hearts out of their chest.
A hag witch.
You can be a hag, which is like but you can also
in the house.
Hello. But you can also be like a flipping Kernoth hunter. You can be like this 9-foot tall walking tree with a sodding great bow. I mean,
I really want to be a Kernoth hunter. No matter how practical it is.
All you're going to do is walk around saying, "I am Groot."
I am Groot.
Exactly. That's all you're going to do. I mean, that'd be great for some of the people who we play with, because they wouldn't have to do anything apart from every now and then just say, "I am Groot" at the right time, and everyone will laugh, and then we'll keep playing the game. But it's the most weird mishmash of characters, and you generally end up with weird mishmashes of characters quite often, and I'd love to hear what people watching, what kind of groups they've played with. Quite often in our group, we've often played with the majority of people being humans and maybe a elf or a dwarf or something like that, but we've rarely gone very far into like the lizard men or lion men or whatever other kind of weird and fanciful creations are. We've rarely gone that crazy.
VJ missed why they didn't include the Seraphon. They didn't include the Seraphon, VJ, because Games Workshop have just redone the battle time, haven't they? And I assume Games Workshop said, actually, we're going to tinker with the rules, we're going to tinker with the genesis of them and how they work. So please don't write any new lore for them, or we don't want you to spoil the lore possibly. Is the battle time out yet? The Lizard Men one, has it actually come out?
I don't know.
Or is it coming out? I'm not sure. I'm so far behind on Age of Sigmar on what's going on. I don't know quite where we're at. But yeah, so it was for lore reasons. So probably in both senses of the word at the moment. Yeah.
And the other thing I like, in fact, I was wrong. Kernoths are like 10 feet on average, which is just stupid.
Okay. Maybe you'll be a Kernoth sapling.
Another thing I love is it goes through all of that stuff that you get in all the roleplay books, where there are pages and pages to talk about how you've got random tables to determine that your character is always snacking and has a pierced eyebrow and a burned hand and cold dead eyes and bright red hair. You're like, this person is a fucking freak. And immediately after you rolled all of that, within like an hour of your first roleplay session, no one cares. No one cares. No. As far as everyone cares, the hag I'm playing has a beard and glasses, and you know,
that would be a pretty terrifying woman.
That would be, yeah, I mean, a bit like me nan. So you know, but that's just how it goes. It doesn't matter. All this stuff, and I love it. I mean, when I was a kid, and I'm sure when all of us were kids, and oodles of time, we spent days just whiling away the time making these characters up and creating these backstories and stuff like that. Yeah. But now it's just like, yeah, I think I'm a dwarf or something, but my strength's 9, and that's really all that matters right now. So let's just go with it.
Yeah. So Matt said Seraphon aren't physically either; they're literally conjured into being by the slan. Okay, well, fair enough. Just order factions. Well, that's true in essence, Matt. But you can play. I mean, you can play Aurochs. They've actually, that is kind of in there. How to create an Auroch one is, I think, is at the back. I say I haven't got that far yet. And they do stress that you can do what you like, but that the other one, the order races, are the ones that are kind of coded into the book. There's nothing, if you want to play Chaos or Death or something, there's nothing for doing that, which is interesting because in Wrath and Glory, which is the Warhammer 40k role-playing game, which actually has a lot of similarity. There's some differences, but there's quite a lot of similarities, particularly in the archetypes between the two systems, and I think they've obviously been developed with each other in mind, although the stats are quite different. You can play Chaos in Wrath of Glory. I mean, it does say you can't really mix and match. You can't very easily play a Chaos person with a kind of lawful warband.
Yeah, with a
Imperial, with Space Marines and such like. Well, I guess you could be a hidden Chaos agent, but you've got to,
agent of Zinch.
You've got to kind of recognise that at some point it's all going to go tits up.
Yeah.
But in this, at the moment there is no way to play or Chaos, or not no way. There's no official way. It's not. Yeah. It's hard coded into the book. Somebody did say something interesting. Yes, you can play Daughter of Cain. There's a couple of Daughter of Cain archetypes.
You can play an Arkelian or whatever it's called, one of the sea elf things as well. No high elves though, oddly, or cow elves or whatever you want to call them.
I'm guessing possibly for the same reason that the law. Is their book out yet? Has it just come out? But I'm guessing they didn't want to tread on the toes of. So I'm guessing you'll see those kind of things. Yeah, I mean, it's a really interesting looking game. It looks pretty intuitive. There's not a lot of dice rolling at the beginning. It's all derived. So you pick your archetype, and they basically there's three main stats, and they're effectively a number between 1 and 4.
Body, mind, and soul.
Yeah, or possibly even 1 and 3. And they kind of generally add up to 7, although I noticed the Dark Elves, they add up to 8.
It definitely goes up to at least 4. I've seen a few in there that go up to 4.
Yeah, right. Okay. They're kind of hard-coded, but then you get a certain number of experience points depending on what archetype you choose, and you can spend that on different skills and things, and that's where your flavours of characterisation come in. Then you can sort of choose how your flavour of Hagwitch, if you like. Salt and vinegar Hagwitch.
Prawn cocktail. Yeah.
Need to be a squig. Oh, Tim's in as well. Hi, Tim.
Hello, Tim.
Matt needs a squig, and needs to be a squig. Sorry. VJ just put a pic of the archetypes in the Discord.
Oh, there you go. Check that.
Let's look at that myself.
And now this isn't one of those games where you pick. We were just saying just now. This isn't a game where you pick some lowly little rat hunter in the sewers or anything to start with. I mean, your classes are things like you can play the Isharan Tidecaster, or the Soul Crier, or an Achillean Emissary, and you can be some pretty big, tough people. I mean, you're certainly not any old numpty.
So Matt, you could be a battle mage straight out of the thing as well.
Yep.
I quite like the free people's choices are really quite nice. There's like an explorer one I quite like the look of.
Oh yeah, there's a bit more of a generic sort of tradery kind of Trade
Matt,
pioneer.
Have you got a copy of the book then, Matt? And are you planning on playing? If you don't mind me asking you a direct question over over live chat.
What are you doing right now?
Tell me now.
Some of them, I think, and like I said, you can end up with some real disparate sort of war bands. I mean, you can be a Stormcast, which is insane. They're reforged. You know, some of the mightiest heroes of the Empire have been reforged as Stormcast. You could be that kind of thing, or you could also be like a Black Ark Corsair, which is like a Dark Elf pirate. And it's just, how are you going to fit some of those things together and come up with some kind of reasonable excuse as to why you're all there?
I mean, the non-Stormcast ones are kind of bound together, and there is actually a table for saying how they all kind of fit together, or how you fit together with certain other people. How you fit in with other people in the group. It's a marked contrast to Wrath and Glory in this respect, in that in Wrath and Glory you have different tiers. So if you want to play, so you have tier 1, kind of like your lowly gang members and
scummers
kind
and
of
stuff like that.
I'm not sure of the terms, but like the kind of Adeptus Mechanicus kind of engine cleaner type of thing, and a novice in the Sisters of Battle.
Exhaust pipe fluffer.
And then they go up, there's tier 2, 3, 1 to 4. 4, I think, is Primaris Marine on its own. 3 is Space Marine. And so, but you haven't got any of that in SoulBound. SoulBound is, they all work together. So it isn't like you play 3 peoples at tier 1 and Stormcast at tier 2. They could have gone that way. But I guess there's not very many things that would stand with a Stormcast.
A Colonel's Hunter.
Yeah.
10-foot tree is always going to be quite tough.
Yes. But that would have probably made, there's not enough, there isn't as much, I guess the lore is much newer, so there isn't as much stuff to create those different tiers. Whereas in 40k universe, you've got all sorts of different possibilities.
Yeah. I do like the fact that the creation of the characters isn't like 60 different stats. 'Cause I remember back when we played Pathfinder, was it version 3 or something like that? It was just horrific. And like when you needed to work out what your stat was for what you needed to hit, you had to add about 6 things together, and
it got a bit. The feeds got a bit much, and I think I overcomplicated it. To try and make it more interesting, I think I overcomplicated it, which was a mistake. I tried to give people more choices, so everybody goes on about the Pathfinder. I think it's Pathfinder's fault. I think as much as anything, it was my fault, just to make it a bit more interesting. But the feeds did get a bit crazy. In that game. Yeah,
it did get a bit. Then you got the latest version, which I think we were playing last, which is
5th edition,
which was much. Oh yeah, 5th. Yeah, and that was much easier, but it was almost. It's getting that balance right between it being too easy. And it's just you happen to have roll for your starting equipment. You've got a dragon, and the other level, which is You literally got to roll 2 dice every time you go to sleep, or else you might not wake up again. And it's getting that balance level between interesting to play, but also not too easy that it's just being handed to you.
I really like 5th edition D&D. I think it's a really good version of the game, and I really enjoyed playing it. It was really quick to pick up, and it's fitted busier lives, which perhaps why it's more popular.
Yeah.
Because you didn't have to like tinker with it over and over. You could just run up a character and play it, and it was reasonably successful. So I do rate 5th edition.
You got a lot of stuff out of the box as well. You were like, I want to be this, so you get all these things straight away. So you get lots of little tricks and stuff that you could start doing. Whereas in the older versions, like your casters, they'd have nothing to start with, but come level 5 or 6, and come level 5 or 6, they'd be something like, I'm just gonna cast Fireball and destroy everything in the room, and the barbarians going, I'll hit them again with my stone axe, I guess.
But SoulBound is pretty heroic, as I say, out of the box. So I think it's going to be, you're going to have that kind of those choices, and you're going to be able to do quite a lot from the start. You're going to get spells from the start. You're going to have special attacks from the start. There are miracles in the game, which I don't quite know how they work, but there's all sorts of things. And the wounds, the way wounds work is interesting. You have a toughness stat, which is derived from 2 things, which I can't remember off the top of my head. But then when your toughness is reduced to 0, then your wounds go to 0, which is an interesting departure from Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, which has changed in later iterations. But I remember playing those games. Once you got to a certain point, it was really hard to damage anybody because toughness was so hard that no matter how hard you hit them, by the time you added in their magic armor or whatever, you could never do any damage. And so it didn't make any sense. Your wounds might go down very slowly, but your toughness always stayed the same, no matter how many bits of you had hacked off. Whereas in this game, toughness goes down first, and then you start taking wounds, and then you can end up having critical wounds happening to you.
And I haven't, I'll admit, I haven't looked too much into the stats of things, but some of the stats look a bit off to me. Some of them look really weird. Like a grunter, which is just a big pig that the orcs ride, is like toughness 8. But then you look at like a plague bearer, a chaos demon plague bearer is toughness 1.
Really?
What? What is that about? I'm obviously missing the mechanic.
I have only. I'm reading it in order because I'm doing the videos as I go.
Yeah.
So I haven't looked. Tempting how it was, I haven't really looked much beyond character generation yet. So that's interesting. Perhaps it's a mistake. It could be a printing mistake.
Well, maybe, I guess, but I mean, it's like a Skaven. Just a Skaven clan rat is the same. It's got like a toughness of 1 and no wounds. So it's like.
Well, that makes a bit more sense, but
a plague bearer being as tough as a Skaven clan rat, that
sounds like they left off the 0.
It could be, yes, because a blood reaper or a blood letter. Well, no, because a blood letter, a corn demon, pretty nasty tough guy with a big flamey bloody sword, is toughness 1 with no wounds. It's like, what?
Okay.
I don't really. I'm obviously missing a mechanic somewhere in there.
Yeah, I haven't looked that far into it. I'm waiting. I don't think there are any yet. I'm waiting to see, and they'll hopefully send me one. I'm waiting to see what the adventures look like.
Yes, because this book doesn't have any sort of out the box adventures in it.
But I saw on Twitter or Facebook today that Emmett Byrne, I think his name is, the guy who designed it, saying that there was something coming soon, PDF of an adventure coming soon.
Cool.
So I'll be interested to see that. It's possible. I haven't actually. The person I deal with at Cubicle 7 has often offered that to, if I want to talk to Emmett, then I can. So we might be able to do that. I was thinking we may even be able to set it up on the live chat. Maybe potentially. Haven't asked him, but he did ask. He did talk. He did like my video and pointed out where I got something on Facebook. So maybe he could do that. So if you're interested in that, then just let us know, and I'm not promising anything at all, but once I understand the game a bit better, perhaps we'll see if we can get him on to talk about it. If people are interested, I know it's not Underworld. I know you join us for Underworlds normally, but there's only so much Underworld you can talk about at the moment.
Well, yeah, especially when they haven't released anything. I'm just looking at the blood letters again because this is infuriating me more as I read it. They have an armor of 1 and a toughness of 1. I've noticed that if you have 3 or more blood letters occupying the same zone, they become a swarm. Now, in the old roleplay world, encountering more than 3 blood letters would spell doom for your entire party, but in this case that seems absolutely fine. And what happens is you get +1 toughness per blood letter in the swarm, so it looks like the more of them you have, the tougher they get. But that would suggest that you're going to come up against like multiples of blood letters at any one time, which okay, I
guess it's more epic.
Yeah, true. But then you get like, then you go down, you look at like a pink horror, and a pink horror has 6 wounds. Hang on, but that's not much different to a blood letter in the game. So how come pink horror is like so much better? I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense. No. I can't work it out. I need to go back. I need to read it a bit more. But yeah, plague bearer has 1 armor and 1 wound, and if you have 3 or more of them in the same zone, again they become a swarm and they get +1 toughness per plague bearer. But yeah, it's a bit weird. So you get like swarms that take up areas, that take up zones rather, and then if you do like effects that target a zone rather than an individual, then they take double damage and stuff like that. So yeah, it's not like you're fighting.
That's handled, because although epic is good in one way, if it means more monsters, normally that was a nightmare. And maybe the swarm mechanic is one way of dealing with it. So although there's lots of them, they're dealt as one.
It looks like it because it says the plague bearer swarm acts as 1, adds 1d6 to attacks, and +1 toughness per plague bearer in the swarm. So yeah, it looks like the more you have in a space, for certain creatures at least, they sort of add up. But then you get things like the Great Unclean One, which has an armour of 3, 48 toughness, 12 wounds, and at the start of every turn it gets back 5 toughness. That's going to be tough.
Is there a maximum number of monsters there can be in a zone? Well, it depends. They've all got to stay 2 meters apart. So
not Nurgle, not plague bearers.
Not plague bearers.
Yeah, I agree, VJ. He says he understands things like Nurglings, which aren't in there, and swarms of Skaven being a swarm, but it would appear that this is for more than just that. So you get clan rats. A clan rat is Armour 0, Toughness 1, but again, they can occupy a zone and become a
Grandpa
swarm.
Nurgle says, and he would know because he's Grandpa Nurgle, says Chaos has become a swarm type army of puds in AOS. What's a pud? Like
Puddings?
Christmas pudding? Nice spotted dick is what you get with Nurgle.
It used to be a hard leap. Yeah, I think you're right a bit. I think Grandpa Nurgle was right in some ways.
I'm really pleased with that joke. Is this 100% pencil, paper and head game, or are there mechanics for min and mat play? I think it's probably going to be whatever you want to do, mini and mat game. I think I saw a little thread on the Facebook page today where somebody was asking the opposite of that question. VJ was, can you play it without miniatures? And the answer seemed to be you could basically do what you like.
Yeah.
You can play with miniatures if you want to, but you could easily play. A pud is like a little jerk. I see.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think the answer is yes. You can do either.
For all the people who play like us and can't be bothered to put the models out anymore, and we just sort of work off of what we can remember, what we've done last, and where things were. Or you can be, if you want to be proper hardcore and do it the right way and have all the terrain and the models and everything. No, there is a right way.
Rawk and have a pet squig. Fair enough. I'm interested in this. I never used to play D&D or Warhammer with models, and then it's something that we kind of introduced because I think the most outspoken person in our group wanted to have them, and I always felt like I could hold it in my head. But I have to say, as I've got older, that's become harder. But I don't know. I'm happy to play without them, but equally happy to play with them as long as they don't take over. Like I don't mind having minis, but I don't really like starting to get terrain and things because it starts to get a real pain in the bum then.
Yeah, I think as long as you're not using the and some people play it like this, and that's absolutely fine if they want to, but sometimes people play it where they'll be literally measuring distance going, well, you can't charge them because you're 4.5 centimetres away, or 4.5 inches away, not under 4 inches away, and your movement's only 4, so you can't do that. So I get a bit bored when it gets to that kind of stage. I still prefer the slightly more cinematic view of role play.
It's got to be fun, hasn't it? And I mean, different people derive their fun in different ways. But at the end of the day, even the DM wants the party to win normally, unless he's a psychopath. So you don't want to make it too easy, but you want them all to have a good time. So if somebody said to me, "Oh, I'm really sorry, you're actually 5 inches away when you need to be 4 inches away, you can't do anything," I'd be like, "Well, that's not really that's no fun, is it?"
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Let me charge.
I just found Ard boys. Ard boys don't form swarms, so
Ard boys don't cry.
Ard boys don't cry, and they don't form swarms. They just have toughness of 8 and 2 armor, so you don't have swarms of Ard boys. They're hard enough to go solo. Neither do squigs. Squigs don't go into swarms. I mean, where's the sense in that? That doesn't really make any sense to me at all.
Let's go back to our Springsteen discussion earlier in the week, Pete.
It could do. It could very well do.
Depends on the setting. If he's going with mates, he doesn't care about the odd inch here or there. Too many answers to that comment.
I was going to say and move on. I do like the idea of having a game where you can all go in as not necessarily Stormcast, because I'm not a massive fan of Stormcast, but being able to go in as a set of heroic individuals set on a course.
If it's at a gaming event, there's a competitive hat on, he will call it out. Yeah. Yeah, but competitive role playing. If you get into I don't know, does such a thing exist? Role playing is meant to be everybody creating a narrative to enjoy the day or the session, isn't it? I think so. It's different to a competitive. Competitive game is completely different. If I was playing Warhammer 40k competitively, firstly, I'd ask you to check that I hadn't been replaced by a doppelganger. But secondly, I would. You would have to say, well, I'm sorry, that half an inch there does make a difference. Despite what your wife might tell you. You measure things in role play. But this conversation is just going where, well, we don't, Matt, but there are some people who do. I think is what people say. There are people who bring out big diagrams, even if it's just diagrams and not scenery. But I know people who play with masses of scenery. Model dungeons. I mean, they look great, these model dungeons and things, and people do then measure it. Even if it's just a number of squares. Oh, I'm sorry, you're 10 squares away and your bow's only got a range of 9 squares. It slows it down. But of course, some people love that. So it all depends about how you and your group have fun. I mean, there are real rules lawyers there who generate their fun out from the game from from the mechanics.
I remember.
I'd almost rather have no mechanics and just kind of, it doesn't really matter to me what really happens at the end of the day.
I remember us playing one session once, and I can't remember if it was a friend of yours that came along or a friend of somebody else's. It was a gentleman with a beard and glasses. It wasn't me, because it wasn't me back then because I didn't have a beard. But somebody's friend, or it was somebody from work, something turned up. He was an older gentleman. He was older than the rest of us, I think, and he had a beard and glasses. Sorry?
He worked in the book opening department, the box opening department in Waterstones when I worked in Waterstones.
Oh, okay. That tells me a lot then. And he came along once, and obviously we're all sitting there just going, I want to shoot at the darkness. And he sort of sitting there going, so how much gold does it cost for us to stay in the tavern overnight? And we said, no one cares. No one writes that down. No one gives a shit. And you can just see the horror on his face. But if we don't count how many copper pieces we've just spent, then it's just chaos. Like, yeah, welcome to the club. It helps if you just wear your underpants and, throw feces.
Yeah, he played like 3 or 4 times a week with the same group and had been playing for 20 years. And he said people rarely get injured in his games because it takes months to recover from the wounds. And
that's just
dumb. Like limbs chopped off, sewn back on, healing potions left, right, and centre.
We really had to push it before somebody died in our
We couldn't
roleplay.
go with the pace of our game. He didn't come back for long, did he?
No. I mean, when you consider we played for near 20 years on a not massively regular near the end, but at least 4 or 5 times a year, or whatever. And in the start, it was once a month when we were all younger and didn't have kids and all that kind of stuff. Even back then, we didn't. We only ever lost one fighter in the whole time.
Problem is, VJ said wear your underpants on his head and dance with your copper pieces. When Pete's got his underpants on his head, you can see his copper pieces, and that's the problem.
Oh dear. Oh dear. Man goes to the doctor with cellophane underpants. The doctor says, I can clearly see your nuts. Of course, if you build a system that doesn't have any rules in, you end up with a masterpiece that looks something like this.
Is it arseholes?
Arseholes. We built our own system, and here it is. And it's lovely. It's hardbound, this isn't bad stuff here. We stole pictures from all over the place on the internet.
Yeah, it's the Dave Benson Vanity Project.
It is, yeah. Benson, Brooks, Copper, Davis, Pollard and Tucker.
Arseholes, yeah, we deliberately called it arseholes because it was made by arseholes for arseholes.
Yeah, and it's called arseholes. There was a proper system. There was a proper system of sorts. It was mostly do what Dave says.
I actually haven't got a book.
Did you not? Oh, you didn't buy it, did you?
No, I didn't buy one. I had creative differences with the whatchamacallit, what's his name? Dictator of the project. And I didn't want to bind it because I didn't think it was finished. But
to be fair, I think a lot of people gave up caring. And so we got that.
Yeah, but I think also it was like 50 quid or something, and we just had second child, third child, and Joe was on maternity leave, so we had no money coming in. So I thought, actually, I can't really justify spending 50 quid on that at the time.
To be fair, if I'm brutally honest, looking at it now, it is a bit shit. But I just bought it because it's got our names on it at the bottom.
Sounds like you have an axe to grind there, Rob. Well, I wouldn't like to say I had an axe to grind, but yeah, I do a bit. We have a friend, I've never talked about him before, and he's a nice guy. But he's always been a little bit opinionated. But as you get older, one finds that there are 2 things in life. One is that you get more set in your ways. You become a more extreme version of yourself as you get older, and
a caricature almost.
Yeah, and also the things that like get on your tits a little bit when you're younger, when you're older, and you have less patience to actually deal with them. so that's kind of what happened there.
Yeah, it's one of those things where when you're younger and someone does something that pisses you off, you kind of just go, well, what do I care? I'll it doesn't really make much difference to me. I'll still be up till midnight playing whatever it is we're playing, and it doesn't bother me. And then you get older, you're like, I could be at home watching fucking telly, drinking a cup of coffee or a cup of tea with some bourbon biscuits right now, or I could be putting up with this shit. And you know what?
Basically, yeah.
The biscuits are winning.
I think it was the last time we played, because we've stopped playing with the group now. The last time we played, Pete and I had driven 4 hours to get up there, and he'd started slagging me off for being a parent or something within 20 minutes of being there. It's like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah. And the other problem, of course, was when we would go up there, it was not very far away from Warhammer World.
No.
And because we only have a limited number of times out in a year that we can get our passport stamped, it's like, I could come here for this, or I could go to Warhammer World for the day, or possibly even a short weekend, and maybe play Underworlds or meet people that I actually enjoy spending more time with now, which is a bit sad in some ways, you know, with a person we know for 20 years versus somebody we've known for like a year or something like that. But it can get that way a little bit. I mean, you said yourself towards the end, the curry became the best part of the whole thing.
Yeah, he does live near a very, very good curry house.
Yeah, it is a very nice curry house.
When we talk about playing SoulBound on the Discord, I would like to play SoulBound on the Discord. I have never played any games on Discord, role-playing games on Discord, but I would like to give it a go. Finding the time might be tricky, but we could do that, especially if we're trying to include Australian people as well. VJ, no, not that I don't want to rule you out from the beginning, but it could get tricky. Although if we play late-ish in the evening, if you're around generally at this time of day, yeah, it'd be nice to do. We'll have to see. I need to read the rules and need to get an adventure. I've got time to write one. I would like to do it, particularly because I want to review it, and we want to make more SoulBound content because the first video is doing quite well. So it'd be nice to keep that up and bring it to. But it's like everything. It's time.
That's another thing, that when you're younger, you can create masses of adventures and crafted in such fine detail that your party could ignore 90% plus of it, and then all of it's just gone to waste because your adventure didn't go, they didn't go left down the path, they went right, missed like all the major interactions that you come up with. But these days you're like, I can't be asked with that. I've got to get an adventure from a book that I can follow, because who the fuck's got time to come up with 60 different characters with names and back plots and stuff. If I had to do that now, it would just, if anybody was astute enough when playing, they'd be sitting there going, this is the storyline from EastEnders last week. No, it isn't. And Doc Cotton, the barmaid, has asked if you want a drink. Shit! Oh! It would be a farce, basically.
6 to 8 a.m. local time is good. So what? Sorry, VJ. What time is it there now?
I can never remember the timings for them.
No, it's about. Is it just after 6 there now? Is it, or just after 7?
The problem we have again is, like you said, Rob, it's time. And we did talk at one point about, shall we record it? And then you watched one of the celebrity role play things the other day, and you said,
everybody watched the D&D. Comedians play D&D. I think it was on the Friday night. My God, it was awful. The bit I watched, I was just like, Jesus, nobody's going to watch us.
Were they funny and crap at the game, or were they not very funny and also crap at the game?
I didn't watch it for long enough, and I think that was part of the problem, because I missed the beginning. So they were obviously running in jokes already, like there always is in a role-playing group. And so it just didn't make a lot of sense, and it wasn't particularly funny. And I got to a bit where they obviously, to get people to bid money, they'd obviously had different challenges that you'd had to do. So if I think they got to £16,000, and at that point the GM had to continue without his notes. So it was sort of funny, but also made it terrible to watch if you just joined.
Yeah.
So 9-11 p.m. to GMT. We could do that. The only issue I may have with it is that we already do live chat on a Tuesday night, and we do, Pete and I meet for games on a Thursday night at the moment. And so if I add another night, it might start to get a little bit impinging on Mr. and Mrs. Brooks's time in the evenings. But we'll see. We could hopefully make it work.
Yeah, it'd be nice to get at least a game of this in, because it looks like it has the benefit of being a very quick game to play, in that there's not 1,000,001 characteristics that you need to roll up. There's not 100 different weapon profiles like there was in Warhammer.
You're meeting up. Sorry, Matt. No, not physically meeting up, but we do. We it takes over the computer in the dining room while I play on TTS with Pete. We're not actually meeting.
Yeah. We pretty much do this just without a live feed at the same time. I do wonder sometimes whether we should just broadcast it live, but it would be really bad then.
It would be pretty painful. Yeah.
But the thing I do like about this is it does look like it's got enough depth of rules in it that you're not going to be sitting there a bit like with arseholes and just go, I want to do this thing. Okay, I guess you can, because we haven't really got anything to cover that. But it's not the other end of the scale where you've got you just got to add 16 different stats together, and then add your racial bonus, and then take off your character modifier, blah, blah, and you just give up. You're like, I don't know, just roll a dice and we'll see. If it's sort of high, then I'll say it's fine. If it's sort of low, I'll say it's not. And if it's somewhere in the middle, I'll probably ask you to roll it again. So it looks like it's got a balance somewhere in there where there's a middle ground.
Good. You have you generate difficulty number depending on what your stats you're using are, and they're based on your. So you've got 3 stats: body, mind, and soul. Any skills, I think, I have 1. Or depending on what skill level you've got in it, and then you could just compare it with the opponent's difficulty number or the task's difficulty number, and that's how many dice you roll, and then you need whatever the success score is on that number of dice. So if you get 1, you succeed. I think that's how it works.
And I like the fact that you have the potential to almost straight away be coming straight into it and going, okay, let's go and kill not that bloodthirster over there, for example, but let's go and take on that Troggoth or something like that. It's not that kind of game where your party comes into contact with a group of malnourished, dishevelled, paraplegic goblins, and you only just make it through and then have to spend 6 months recovering because kobolds, yeah. So it's more heroic in that respect, and I like that it might be a bit more cinematic and fun to play.
Of course, if we do just jump in and everything kills you, then it makes it a much quicker session.
That's true.
Oh, you're dead.
And it has a bit in there where it basically says, and if your character dies, you have to record 1 doom point and then roll up another character. It's like, you're dead, start again, who cares?
I assume the Stormcast come back.
Yes, I think they do somehow, because, you're being reforged. But it does say that can take anywhere from between a few hours to a few years.
Okay.
So I suspect you then have to have some kind of...
So that's how we deal with the Australian contingent.
Okay, you're dead. So come back next month. Mind, body and soul. Body, mind and soul sounds like a menopausal woman's self-help book. I'm not saying anything.
No, so there's no comment that we can make there to make it better.
No, just not touching that one.
He likes games where characters are pretty disposable. See, I'm the opposite. Apart from Pete's characters, who I like to kill with impunity, I like to see characters evolve and go. And then I personally get very attached to my characters and therefore hate it when they die. And therefore, I suppose I telegraph that when I'm GMing. So I don't like to kill people's characters. I will give people chance after chance to stay alive. Apart from Pete.
I'm going to drink the potion. Are you sure? Yeah, I'm going to drink the potion. Are you really sure? Definitely going to drink the potion. It smells really deathy.
I did do that once. There was a dungeon and there was a dead guy with his hand still attached to the...
It was a potion?
To the doorknob.
Oh, right.
And so he was always just a complete charred skeleton attached to the doorknob. And our kind of fighter guy who likes to go first to every room said, I'm going to open the door. And I was like, well, are you sure? Yeah, I'm going to push the body out of the way and open the door. It's like, well, do you want to do that? Yes. Okay. It was why I'm fancying Rock. Okay. You lose a fate point. Okay. Because there were ways, I can't remember how you got around it now. There were ways around it in the room, but that was not it.
It was not grab hold of the giant electrode that the smouldering corpse is still holding on to. Yeah.
Yeah, Paranoia. Yes, I never played Paranoia. I had the Paranoia rulebook, but I think I've still got a copy of the Paranoia rulebook, but I never actually got around to play it. I rolled up characters and never played it.
I've always
quite a lot of game systems where I rolled up characters and never played it.
Yeah, that's the problem these days. It's like, do you play Underworlds? Do you do something like Roleplay? I mean, the problem with Roleplay, obviously, the real big problem we had with our groups, we had 7 people, and once you get past about 5...
5 for me is the most. 4 might be the optimum.
It gets exponentially
6
crazy. It gets
6 PCs in a DM, wasn't it? So
yeah,
5 is okay. 6 is too many players, and 4. I think 4 is optimal. I imagine on Discord, probably 4 is probably optimal because it's.
4 can be a bit low. I feel.
You think? Depends who they are, I suppose. If I'm one of the 4, it's fine.
Well, I mean, if you got a DM and 4 PCs, then I think that's fine. I think that probably is. I think that's your perfect level. You almost have like your fighter, your thief, your caster, and your healer type thing sort of going on. Your holy quadrinity or whatever you want. I don't know. So yeah, something like that.
Quick straw poll, people. I'm going to ask quick straw poll people. What are your favourite role-playing games that are slightly odd? So not D&D or Warhammer or what? Because I know VJ possibly or maybe Jason was talking about. something in our Discord, a game I'd never heard of, and I've forgotten what it's called already. I can't remember what they're talking about, but yeah, what games have you played that you really liked that probably people have maybe
Paranoia.
Have played less that they haven't heard of, because there are so many role-playing systems out there. I saw one today popped up, I presume because I joined the SoulBound feed, popped up on my you might be interested in. It's like, I've never heard of that game, but again, I don't know what it is. But it looked quite interesting. It was sort of like a modern labyrinth it was called, but it looked good. The Death Watch RPG I love, but it wasn't rare. Well, I don't actually know many people who played it, but is that what Wrath and Glory has become, Matt? Is that the Warhammer 40k RPG? Kind of as was.
Got a 30-second delay. You've got to talk about something else for 30 seconds whilst you wait for a response.
Oh, okay. I'm just going to sit here and wait. Whatever else, wait. Vampire the Masquerade first edition was good. He has no idea. Okay, fair enough. Vampire the Masquerade first edition was good. I never played that. I had some very strange, I would say friends, but they weren't quite made it into that category. People who played it, but they played it, took it really, really seriously. They used to go off to these weekends and dress up and everything, and yeah. Call of Cthulhu was good. Yes, I played a few games of Call of Cthulhu, but that can be really made or break on your group, I think. You have to get people who are really kind of into setting the story and the scene and taking it seriously. Otherwise, it's crap.
That would not happen with us.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Other Strangers is awesome. Yes, I really love that game. I've played that. I haven't played that for about 30 years.
Other Strangeness?
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Other Strangeness. That's the whole title.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was really good fun. I'd almost forgotten about that.
So yeah, I think Call of Cthulhu definitely wouldn't work with our group, because we'd sit there and you'd go into a room and then the DM would describe the room, and then we'd spend the next 10 minutes going, but what colour are the walls? Or
just laughing at the vaguely sexual references, any sexual reference they could find.
Or frankly, no sexual references at all. We just create some.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty much our thing.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't really know how we stayed together as a group for that long.
Fucking God knows, really. I think it's because it just became an excuse, especially for you and I, to just go away for a weekend and be able to go somewhere else. Possibly.
Goths tend to take vampire games quite seriously. Yes, I mean, it was one of them. At least one of them was full on goth, and yeah.
I wonder if and I don't know if we've got any goths watching tonight. I'm pretty certain we don't. I wonder if goths realise how cliche they look and sound when they actually are fully done up. Because I mean, it's a character, right? It's a real character, and it's not unique at all. But I think they all feel that they're the bleeding edge of whatever it is they're doing.
Do they still exist?
I think they're now Marilyn Manson
move in the
fans
circles
or
where
something.
they move now.
I don't know. I don't really know. But I think, like with all those kind of clique groups, I don't think really they can see themselves from the outside whilst they're inside it. And years later, they'll look at a picture of themselves whilst they're, scrolling through some messages on their phone and in their board meeting or whatever, and then go, God, I looked stupid. But yeah.
Matt says there's a pulsing rod in the centre of the room. A firm grip is required to pull it off. That's exactly the sort of thing, Matt, that people then they would just laugh and just spoil the game.
Well, I think if that was the description, the DM would sort of go, I'm not reading that out. Just no, because you don't need that much ammunition.
Lost on the bleeding edge. See what you did there, Pete? No, I like it. VJ's got a RPG called Comrade, a political RPG. I saw that Kickstarter and was tempted to back it, but I knew none of my role-playing group had the imagination to play it.
You couldn't get them to. couldn't get them all to sort of
but yeah,
group together.
Is it good? It looked good. I'm actually starting to think of just buying RPGs just because, even though I never get to play them, because they're all so cool. But I've also struggling to find time to read the rules. So then that kind of become buying them for that. Not even read the rules does seem a bit pointless.
That's the reason why we don't play like 40k in OS anymore, because we just don't have the time to read through all the rules, let alone paint the models and stuff. At least with RPGs, you don't have any models to paint if you don't want to. You can just do it without.
Exactly. Rage Badger Gaming is here. I think that's the first time view, is it? I don't remember that name coming up.
I don't recognise Rage Badger Gaming, but that's frankly a brilliant name, Rage Badger Gaming.
How do you play Burrows and Badgers? You only back the PDF because send us a copy. Well, I wouldn't say no, VJ, if that's very kind of you. Yeah, so hi Rage Badger. We are not talking about Underworlds tonight, as we normally do. We're chatting about role-playing games.
And SoulBound.
Yeah, but on the, just for research purposes. Indeed.
Yeah, obviously, yeah.
Indeed. Talking of Underworlds, which we weren't, I did notice that they're going to bring in new cards into Underworlds Online.
Yes.
Which I'd be excited to see. Also, whether they're going to bring in Ready for Action. Oh, Burrows and Badger working on an RPG game. Oh, cool. I would love to get my hands on that.
You'd be an angry badger. Badger.
Yeah, I have to say I'd love to get my hands on it. The people I play with wouldn't be interested in.
I'll be honest. I mean, things like Burrows and Badgers, whilst I like the idea, kind of felt a little bit naff to me. Overall, I wouldn't play them. I wouldn't play Burrows and Badgers, for example. But like, I want to be a.
I'd love to play the skirmish game. I don't think I'd role play it. I have to say. I'd love to see it, but I don't think I'd role play it. But I would like to. I'd actually would like to play the skirmish game because it's probably quite good.
I'm not sure I could take the skirmish game seriously. I'm going to attack your badger with my angry ferret.
You're not meant to take it seriously. That's the point.
Well, yeah, true, I guess.
Matt says if I don't bring him Ready for Action, he's uninstalling. It's fair enough. You said something there, Pete, and it's gone out of my head. Yeah, it says Wind in the Willows with Swords. I've actually got. I bought a Red War book. I've never read one, but I'm going to try and read it to my son because he's really into that kind of sort of natural world stuff, and that's kind of reminds me of Budgies and Burrows.
Budgies and Barrows.
Budgies and Sparrows. That's the sequel. The avian expansion.
Unfortunately, you only start off in a very small cage. You can't get to anybody. You just have to sit there tweeting who's a pretty boy.
Tweeting, yeah.
Hey, tweeting.
Tales of Equestria. That came up somewhere along My Little Pony RPG. I can't imagine doing that. Badgers are great though, apparently. Rage Badger Gaming says he would know.
Well, he doesn't seem like the kind of person who would be biased on this kind of thing. Yeah. Rage Badger says badgers are great. I mean, it feels to me like that's a completely independent sort of thing. But the other thing I'm not sure I can get my head around just yet in SoulBound is obviously it's a role playing game. It's not fighting. It's not a fighting tabletop war game or anything like that. It's a role play game. So there has to be elements of it where you're not clobbering hordes of orcs and troggoths and squigs and all that to death with flaming hammers and all that kind of thing. And that to me is going to be a bit weird. Like, how do you role play with a group with a Kernoth hunter and a stormcast and a hag sorceress going into like a pub?
A pub, yeah.
It's going to be a hard sell.
Covert missions are going to be tough, aren't they? We're going to infiltrate the clan.
I am Groot.
Exactly. Yeah, it will be interesting to see how that works. But I'm quite. One of the things I'm really looking forward to seeing is because I feel that I've said this numerous times, but the Age of Sigmar universe leaves me a little bit cold. But I'm hoping that because even the map got me excited. It's in the book. I'm hoping that with a bit of work around it and a bit more interest, a bit more information, and kind of world building, that I can start to kind of grow into the world and find out how it works, how a Kernoth hunter can go into a bar with a Stormcast and not get thrown out.
Sounds like a really bad joke, doesn't it? Stormcast, Hag Queen, and a Kernoth go into a bar.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nice though to see a lot of maps popping up and having more names and stuff like that appearing and things. But then some of the descriptions of some of the realms seem very against a normal life. Like the realm of, I think it's metal, the one that Tzeentch has sort of taken over. It's like the whole thing got loads of warping rain fire all over it, which warped everything and created this living landscape. You're like, I'm not sure how you're going to hoe your garden in that situation when your trees...
Yeah, but it all takes place in the same bit of the world as Hammerhow, doesn't it? I can't remember what it's called. It's got a name. The name just escaped me. That's in that. It's not set, or this iteration hasn't tried to set it off in the more extreme worlds, I think.
Yeah.
Also the best faction though, so we can let it slide. Yeah. Yeah, but I'm interested to see how that evolves. I've just realised the Colonel Hunter has just got, with our role playing group, has got terrible possibilities for I've got wood jokes, which I'm not sure I ever want to bring it up with them.
I think I'd like to play.
Actually, Giran is Hammerhow. Okay. So does Hammerhow exist in 2 realms at once?
Oh, I don't know.
It just shows what I need a Matt Collins crash course in the lore of Age of Sigmar, because I know sweet Fanny Adams.
To be fair, I think you could just make it up, and it's like, that's okay anyway, because it's all fucking mad. So
literally split in both realms because of a massive realm gate. I think it talks about realm gates in SoulBound. Yeah.
So, I mean, as a DM, you could be a real bastard and go, okay, there's a realm gate. Do you want to go through it? Yes. Okay, you've ended up in the realm of Nurgle. You're fucked.
Yeah. I see the doorway thing is in the middle of the city. I see. Okay.
But so I'm interested to see how that the actual role-playing element of it plays out. But although, to be honest, generally whenever we've played role-playing, we're quite crap at the non-violent aspects of role-playing games.
Speak yourself.
So
they're my favourite bits, the non-violent bits.
I remember a couple of months ago when we had, it wasn't our last session, it was near the end of one of our sessions, and I remember we were driving home afterwards, and I said something like, I thought today was a bit shit, I didn't really like it, didn't seem to get into it, and you were like, I loved it. We are getting different things out of this.
That was when we had to run around the city and infiltrate things and kind of work out what was going on, wasn't it? And you were like, we didn't hit enough stuff.
Well, I mean, my character was a priest, right? So I shouldn't be that interested in hitting stuff, but I think it was also just the aspect that there were a lot of other people leading everything.
I think you kind of checked out of the group by then, mentally, if not physically. You were just in it for the curry by then.
Yeah.
Doorway thing, realm gate, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. And they're basically the same thing. A doorway and a realm gate are effectively the same thing. They just go to slightly more extreme places than one does than the other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
at the end of the day, it is a doorway.
They're all portals, right? They're all portals.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see how that kind of works, and how just being in a real world scenario almost with some of these people and some of these things behaves, really, because I can't get my head around that bit. It's like they've spent so long talking about war in AOS. It's like there were billions slain on the battlefield and then more people died, and there's never that bit afterwards like, and then the farmers came along and sighed because they had to dig over all the crops again. None of that's covered.
It's got plenty of fertiliser.
Exactly.
What's that? Bone meal. How do you make that?
Just wait for the fucking Stormcaster fuck off.
Stormcaster broke down a load of death rattles.
So I'm interested to see how that side of things works well, and the game itself does look relatively low maintenance, which is another good thing. Definitely appeals to me.
I think it's a similar. I think there's a similar problem with Wrath and Glory, the 40k one, in the sense that you've got. I mean, the life in the Imperium or whatever is unremittingly shit. So how do you turn that into a story? And they've made a little pocket universe almost, a particular kind of bit that's kind of cut off from the rest of not the universe, but I can't exactly remember. It's like a sector on its own due to some cloud or something or other. So everything in there is self-contained. It's kind of had to run itself for the last couple of hundred years. And so that's how they get around that. And I guess it's kind of similar here. You've got that section of the map that they're running everything on. And I guess that's less battle weary than the rest of it. Although obviously there are realm gates in the middle of cities and things, which is not entirely normal.
I'm just flicking through and I found a little section which is the header for that section. I don't know what it's about at all, but the header for it is just I cast Death Ball. Death Ball.
Death Ball.
It's about.
Does it bounce?
It's about creating your own spells and stuff like that.
I see.
Stuff. But it's like, if you're going to create your own spell, I'm going to call it Death Ball. I don't care what it does. So
magic missile. I'll call mine.
You're going to cast it in the darkness. Are there any chicks there? I want to do them.
Now, Pete, we've talked about that.
Yes, I've got no hope. I know. So, I mean, what are people's favourite aspects of the roleplay game? For me, it's definitely got to be the more combat action side of things for the most part, despite the fact that I want to find out about the whole normal world side of things here. I find it incredibly frustrating sometimes. Excuse me, where it's really annoying where you're stuck in a spot and you don't know what to do next, and everyone's just sitting there like, what the hell do we do now? Where do we go? We don't have any leads or anybody to talk to, and obviously the adventure itself is relying on a member of the party sitting there going, oh, I remember in my backstory that I have this mentor that I can go and talk to, or this other thing, and people generally forget all those kind of bits of information about the character the minute you start playing, and so you can spend there sometimes just sitting there going, well, who are we meant to talk to now? I don't understand. I don't know what's going on. Like, that frustrates me sometimes. I like to know what's going on. I did
have to send a note to one of our players once, saying, you know about this.
Yeah, and that's the problem.
And they actually said, it says here. Like, no, that's not how role-playing games work. I really no. See, I'm the same with VJ. The combat, I like a little bit of combat. It's nice to have that kind of friction and possibility of dying. I love magic weapons, as I think most people do. But I'm there more for the banter and the problem solving. I love having well, this is what we're trying to do. We don't know how to do it, and we have to solve it. That's what I like.
I wonder if it was maybe because of the size of our group that meant that I think I ended up with that sort of frame of mind that if I spoke up as well with whatever my thought was, it would just be another level of complexity on all the conversations already going on, and it was already taking us an hour to decide. Sorry?
I don't know. I don't think you'd added much more complexity.
But, it's like if somebody else had their point of view and we've got six people...
It was definitely a problem when we had 6-player characters. You're absolutely right. There's 6 points of view.
Yeah.
Something it meant everything took forever.
Yeah. I mean, I think we spent 2 hours once literally deciding whether we'd go upstream or downstream. And it was just...
Should have gone up.
And I can't even remember what the net result was. You were the DM back then, I think, and I'm not even sure it mattered.
I was the leader of the upstream.
Oh, okay. I was probably I'm just going to drown myself in the stream posse by the end of it.
I think we'd all got there by the end.
Yeah, it was just like, who cares?
You're a trailblazer in that sense. Story is the most important. Yeah, I agree with that. The D&D adventures we just played, the first one was the Dragon Heist, I think, which was a Waterdeep adventure, and it was really good. And then the second one we played was just a dungeon crawl with no real reason for being there at all, and it was really boring. So story is super important.
Yeah, I mean, saying that I don't like the running around cities thing and not knowing what to do, I dislike that slightly less than dungeon crawls, which I find nonsense. Because it's like, why is there a hallway with a massive side that comes arcing down it if you step on the wrong tile? That's just going to be a really stupid thing because you're going to forget about it. A couple of months later, you're going to be walking down the corridor with your mate. Stunk! Oh, Christ! I've killed Bill! It makes no fucking sense. And then you open the door and there's a troll in the room. Why is there a fucking troll in this room? It makes no... How did he get in the room? We had to sneak through a bloody hole.
How long has it been here? This tomb has been uncovered or covered for 2,000 years.
Exactly. Where the fuck did the troll come from? Troll's like, I'm so bored.
Yeah, I think... The second adventure we played in that campaign was a rebrand of an old one, and I think they are a lot better now.
Yeah, and I don't mind a little bit of going into an unknown crypt and having a couple of things go on, but it's like when you spend an entire 7-hour session just going through one dungeon, and you get halfway through and all your characters are absolutely bollocks. So you're like, oh, we're going to have to take a long rest. Like, really? In the middle of a dungeon, we're just going to light a fire and eat some s'mores and have an 8-hour kip? That's not normal. It just doesn't make that bit really breaks the reality for me. And I
don't know, that's what we've been doing under lockdown. We've basically been tunneling into the ground and having s'mores down there.
It's true.
Just digging out under our dining room.
So it's like, I don't mind a bit of a dungeon crawl, but it can't go on for too long or else it just becomes ridiculous. It's like on one level we're trying to get through a river, and then suddenly we go a level down. Now there's a library. What the fuck's there? Like, go another level down. Then there's like some squash courts. What the hell is this? What the fuck's going on?
Squash courts. I'm not going on those squash courts. It's too painful.
You go down another level. There's a troll. Why is there a troll here? Literally 2 levels up. Everything had been dead for a millennia.
Strong enough to go on the squash court.
So you get that side, and I think you're right. It's definitely more the older games where it's just people coming up with it. They just watched Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom or whatever. So they were just ploughing all of those.
Followed by grandstand with the squash, or squash was on
Exactly,
grandstand.
yeah, because that was on after the person who was writing it just sort of got completely lost in what they were doing. What's going on? I don't know, but there's a bit about Match of the Day in there. I'm going to leave it. You have to get. Fuck it, I was chucking all in there. So
the bad guy is called Peter Shilton. Anyway, references are getting far too specific.
So I definitely find I've got to get somewhere between the two.
I never played deck box dungeons. That sounds quite interesting.
Is that a board gamey type thing?
To find a system that my children will enjoy playing. Although we are still playing the Pathfinder Adventure card game. I think we've played it for about 10 days straight now, and we're now into the third box of cards. So we are enjoying that, which is pretty much a straight dungeon crawl. I'm not entirely convinced we're playing it right because it's a little bit too easy to me. But the kids are enjoying it, so it doesn't matter.
Trouble you find with that kind of thing is you then suddenly read a rule and you realise you've been doing it slightly wrong, and then the next time you play it with that new rule, you suddenly everyone just dies. You're like,
yeah. I don't think we're playing it wrong, but it just seems to be. I don't know. I bought an extra character box, and I think that character seems particularly powerful. I don't know whether that's just they made them more powerful so more people would buy it. But it seems to be a little bit too easy. But like I say, the kids are enjoying themselves and they want to play it every day, so that's fine by me.
It's definitely finding something where you can easily that it's quick to pick up. So there's not like, hey, shall we play a game, boys? Brilliant. All we've got to do is spend 2 hours rolling up some characters. Yeah. And then you've got to pick 16 spells from this 300 spell list, and so it's getting the balance between that point and okay, you are random unnamed character 1. Here are your 5 stats. They don't really mean anything. You want to have some connection with the character, but not.
Well, they've definitely got this in this guy. Certainly, my son who's got the Ranger, he absolutely loves it because he's got bows and he's brilliant. Right, we've got Hornrat Minis asked us a question. What is your favourite adventure?
How do you mean?
Well,
do you mean like?
And it's coming out again very soon.
What's that?
Death on the Reich.
Death on the Reich.
Death on the Reich. It's coming out very soon, and it's so good. I can't wait to see. Cubicle 7 will be bringing out the new version of it. I can't wait to see it and try and remember it. But I spent about my 15th or 16th summer playing the Death on the Reich with my friends at the time, and I just enjoyed it. I DM'd it, but I enjoyed it so much. It was so good, and that's why I love Warhammer and role playing, I think. So there's a clear answer for me. I don't know about you, Pete, whether you have a clear favourite, apart from the one that I ran for many years, which obviously was brilliant.
No, because you made Stu the chosen one, and for that reason, I'll never forgive you for that.
Actually, that was very good. That the Dying of the Light campaign, that was the second edition. No, not second edition. Whoever took on Warhammer after. So between after Games Workshop giving it up, but before second edition came out, I can't remember whether they're Hogshead Publishing, were they?
Oh yeah.
They did a couple of new adventures, and that was really good. That one.
I'm assuming that we only did, or we covered that fairly on in the process, and you added a whole bunch of stuff afterwards.
Oh yeah.
Because there was masses on that one. That went on for years. That one.
I think I started with I started earlier, so I started with Bits of the Enemy within campaign, but I didn't run Death on the Reich because I felt that you guys wouldn't enjoy it.
It's Death on the Reich, the one that has a shapeshifter in it.
Oh, it might be. Yeah, it does have a shapeshifter in it. I think
we might have done that. I can't remember. I honestly don't remember very many.
The enemy within starts off with a doppelganger. So
that's it. Yeah.
The person you find dead looks like one of the characters. I think it might have been Stu. And that's how it starts, and you take his to try and get the inheritance. You take his persona, and you end up in. But we definitely play Shadows over Brokenhalf, which was really good. I mean, actually, that was much better when I ran it properly than when I'd run it when I was a kid.
Strange. But I don't think I have a particular specific adventure that I liked, but I prefer the times when there's just a good mix of stuff where there's a bit of subterfuge, a bit of head scratching, a bit of fighting, a little bit of some cinematic sort of fight scene or some explosions, and just a good cross section of different portions of what is roleplay. If the whole thing is just like 6 hours of talking to people, I do that at work. If it's 6 hours of dungeon crawling, I can't really get into that. I don't find it particularly real, or I don't find it immersive.
Hornrat Minis is only like RPG scenario. Well, I say mine is definitely Death on the Reich. I love that.
Yeah, I don't think I have one.
Right.
I don't think it's. I think it's because whenever we've played them, you've been DMing it and you've not obviously gone, okay, we're going to play this adventure today.
No, that's true.
And
That's
so I've
true.
never tried to find out, because I know if I said to you, oh, what are we playing? And you go, oh, we're playing this adventure. At some point, I'm going to Google it and I'm going to end up on the wiki and I'm going to read it and go, oh, okay, so that guy's helping us. I probably need to stab him in the face next time we meet him.
These things didn't happen when we were playing as teenagers. There was no such thing as the Google and the internet.
No, exactly.
I'm going to check out this Deckbox Dungeons. Deckbox Dungeons. That sounds quite good. That might be when I finish Pathfinder. That might be a thing for us to play. Although I have bought the Marvel Champions game, which I might get the kids to play.
It looks a bit like individual modular board sections, a bit Hero Questy.
Okay.
In some ways.
The advantage of Pathfinder was I already knew how to play it from when we played, and so it was very quick to remind myself, so I could play it straight away with the kids. Because the other problem we play with kids is if they don't immediately engage, then it's like they'll go off and play Minecraft.
Yeah.
Or Overwatch.
Although you know, Minecraft, there's going to be an RPG for Minecraft coming up.
Yeah, I'll call it Minecraft Dungeons. Yeah, we might stream that. That'll be amusing.
It's going to be, yeah.
What am I doing? Spinning around, walking into the wall.
I just remember the first time when my eldest was. This is probably like 6 years ago now, 6-7 years ago, when he first played Minecraft, when it was really in the early stages, and he a friend of his had it, and he then picked it up and was playing on the iPad. I just remember him coming to me going, I don't know what's going on, and the screen was just black, and I'm like, I don't know, what have you done to this? And I tried cancelling it and exiting it and all this kind of stuff, and it was just black, and I finally worked out he just dug a hole directly down. I finally managed to tunnel him back out, and I got it back to the surface, and at that point he was like, this game's crap, I'm not playing it, so he went back to something else, and then he's obviously picked up years later, and now he and his younger brother.
Terrible at it. It makes me sick when the children are playing, watching it. They go, look at this, Dad, and you're looking at it, trying to watch it, and they're spinning round and whatever. That makes me want to throw up. And then when I try and build stuff, I just can't build anything on top of each other. So I just end up with this kind of, I don't know, sort of modern art sculpture all over the place. Yeah, they just show my age there. VJ's favourite are the Dragonlance modules for AD&D. Yeah, they were really good. I don't think I played very much. I've read all the books, well, not all the books, but I read the original 6 or books of the Dragonlance saga, and I did really enjoy those. And I had a computer game, which was the first, I think it was Dragons of Autumn's Twilight game. I really enjoyed that. Horn Rat Minis, you've asked the question, but what's your favourite adventure?
Yeah.
I want to know.
Is the Dragonlance series, is the first 3 books are like the Dragon of... There's 3 dragon ones.
What's Twilight, Spring's Dawning, and Winter's Night, I think. But
and
not
then
in
the next 3 the twins ones.
Have you ever been a games master? I spend my life being the games master. I'm very rarely not the games master.
You don't like not being the games master?
As I've got older, I enjoy it more, not being a games master. But that's to do with preparation time.
Yeah,
I do like being the games master. But nothing. The good thing about being a games master is nothing bad can happen to you.
Well, apart from the fact you have to deal with 6 idiots just ruining the quest you spent ages doing.
What, signed copies of the Dragons and Twins trilogies? I love the Twins trilogies too. They were really good.
I quite love. Is that the one where they go back in time? There's all weird, funky stuff like that going on. And
I think so. They go forward in time as well, don't they?
Forward, so it all gets a bit weird.
Yeah.
I mean, the Dragons books. They along with the Dris Duerden books, were some of the first sort of fancy books that I ever read. So they obviously have a very definite place in my psyche and helped build and shape my opinion of fancy to some extent. But I reread them a few years ago, and they're a bit shit.
Yeah, I've heard they're a bit shit. I haven't touched them since I was a kid.
Yeah, don't.
Rubbish.
Don't.
VJ's recently got them signed.
Oh, cool. I'd like to have signed copies, despite saying I reread them and I think they're a bit shit. I've still got them on my shelf, and I'll keep them forever, and I'll hopefully...
One of mine is knackered because I read it at school, and my can of Coke exploded in my bag.
Oh, no.
It soaked it, so my copy's really knackered. But I do like it.
So, yeah, I wouldn't reread it now, but I'm always going to keep them on my shelf as that kind of thing where you can look and go, I remember when I was like 13 years old reading that in bed as my first sort of first grown-up book, if you like, kind of thing. That kind of it wasn't just a comic or a magazine or Games Workshop related thing. It was like
I've got knackered copies of the Belgariad as well, David Eddings, which I really liked. I read those. I think they're the books, apart from maybe the Lord of the Rings, they're the books I've read most. in my life.
VJ says, which we'll talk about. The Dragonlance ones I think were worse on rereading than the Drizzt Do'Urden ones. I reread both.
Okay.
I do think the
I haven't
Dragonlance...
read the Drizzt ones. Yeah, I think I was reading other stuff by the time they were out. But the Dragonlance, I obviously have read a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, and I still, like I said, I still love them, and they're always going to have a special
They are
place.
Salvatore, the Drizzt ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were, yeah. And yeah, it's one of those things where it's hard when you reread it. The character obviously has so much plot armor on. It's hard to not ever think how he's never really in that much danger when you read the books. Because sometimes some people will write a book and the character you genuinely think, I mean, we're not talking George R.R. Martin territory, but sometimes you get main character, you think, I'm not actually sure how they're going to get out of this, or if they are going to get out of this kind of thing. But with like the Drizzt Do'Urden ones, that you're like, yeah, well, we know he's going to get out of it because he's Drizzt Do'Urden, so he's just going to kill these 6 giants fairly easily.
Well, that's most heroic fantasies like that, or most older heroic fantasies.
True, yeah, true. It's a bit Conan the Barbarian-ish. There's always the hero's always gonna come riding out at the end without a problem.
VJ says he's going to read them to his son. It's interesting that I've read a few fantasy-ish books to my children, but my oldest is a very good reader, so he outstripped my reading pace quite quickly. But I think there are so many good modern fantasy books for children. I wonder whether they'll care about the ones that we were interested in. My son won't read The Lord of the Rings. He's read The Hobbit, but he tried to read The Lord of the Rings, found it boring compared with some of the other books that he'd read of a similar genre, and so has never gone back to it. And I can sort of see his point.
It definitely has aged.
Yeah, and it's just so slow and pedestrian compared with modern fiction.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Writing has definitely changed such now that even, and it doesn't have to be any old trash, but even fairly good stuff now is written with I think quite often a much faster pace to it than things like Lord of the Rings was, because that's just how books were written more back then.
Yeah. Wolfman Gaz says, yeah, still loves the Dragonlance Chronicles trilogy. Legends was good as well. I think so. There was their legend. Were their legends different to the twins? Were there Chronicles, Legends, and then the twins books? I've forgotten.
Yeah, I think so.
Conan. I haven't read. I think I've read any Conan.
I have got my books on the shelf somewhere over there, but I can't see them right now. I keep trying to get my son into Terry Pratchett, into the Discworld and stuff.
Yeah. My son's at the age, if I tell him to do that, he'll just tell me to fuck off.
Yeah. Yeah, my oldest is kind of...
No, I'm trying to think of how to do it, and I don't know which one to introduce him to, because I know if I introduced him from the start, The Colour of Magic, he'd say it was rubbish.
Yeah, that wouldn't go so well.
So I kind of think he's got to discover them. I kind of mentioned perhaps going to the school library and see if he can find them. I thought maybe the librarian might help him, but I don't think he wants to read them.
What's the librarian doing there? See, that's the kind of thing people aren't going to get. That's like the in-jokes in roleplay groups where someone goes, let's go to the librarian, and then everyone laughs and someone makes a weird noise, and the person who's just turned up that week's like, fuck are you lot on about? I don't get this. I mean, yeah, there's truckers, diggers and wings, maybe they'll be a good starting point.
Yeah, I've Nation's really good, and I think he did read Nation and thought it was all right.
Nation was quite good. I read that when it came out. It wasn't quite normal Pratchett fare, but it had his flavour all over it. It was definitely a Pratchett
very good.
book.
I found them a bit samey in the end, so I kind of fell out of love with him. I found it was the same story rewritten in a different theme each time, and I can't remember. There were quite a few published after I stopped reading them.
I definitely found the last...
I should go back and pick some more up.
The last 5 or 6 he did, I definitely started to get very samey and a bit boring, right. And he started to introduce a lot of new characters, and it felt like he was introducing new characters for the sake of it, and I just kind of felt sometimes like I just want to read a guards-esque kind of thing,
Yeah.
But that's the problem with these kind of things, is that you get guards and it introduces the Night Watch, and you're reading it again for after years, and you're like, it's describing all the characters, and you have that familiar feeling, that sort of that feel of, I know what's going to happen here. This is brilliant. But once something's lived for 20 years or however long they've been around, you can't do that again. Knowingly, you can't create that again.
No, because a lot of them are parodies of different areas. There's like soul music, obviously parodies the music industry.
Yeah.
And Hogfather parodies Christmas, and moving pictures parodies the cinema industry. And I just found they were just like the same story but another parody, and it just started to grate a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely moved away from that a bit, but then he did things like the invention of paper money. Then there was the invention of clacks, which was basically telephony almost. And then there was the invention of trains, and then there was the invention of the postal service, and it was like the invention of each of the new things. And it was.
I think I read the postal service one.
Yeah, going postal.
Yeah, that was quite. Yeah, that might be one of the last ones I read. Can't remember now. I mean, the Terry Pratchett books are really good. There are a lot of really Mort. Ed's mentioned Mort there. Mort was I just thought was brilliant. Mort and Sorcery, I just thought were fantastic. And they're the ones I'd probably give to my son if I was going to say read them. But I know he'll just turn around and say they're not very good. And so I'm not going to do that. Yeah,
and I tried to get Stephen in with the, there was the We Free Men and stuff. There was like the Hatful of Sky and things like that. And I thought maybe if he read those first, he might be a bit more interested. But he didn't get very far into them.
As soon as they sense you've got an investment, that's it. They know that if Dad's emotionally invested in this, and we're going to do him over.
I already know it's rubbish, and I shall never look at it ever.
Yeah.
But my oldest, they're both really good at reading, but they read stuff that the current things are like what they call Tom Gates and all that kind of stuff that I think is a bit crap. But obviously they love it and it gets them reading, so I'm not going to complain.
No, that's it.
Or Horrid Histories. Horrid Histories is brilliant.
My kids never like them.
They're not.
No.
Both of mine are massive into it, and we were watching a thing the other day, and even I learned something. So I was sitting there sort of half watching it whilst I was doing something else, and the kids were watching it, and I sort of remember listening to it, and then later on thinking, I didn't actually know that before. I've actually learnt something myself from it.
It says Garth Nix. I've not read Garth Nix. You were probably the right age to read them when they came out. I was probably a bit too old, so I've never read them.
Wonder, it says, what your favourite fantasy book? What is your favourite fantasy book?
Cool, that's a tough question. That should be another subject for a whole new live chat.
that's a whole subject for you on your own for a whole day.
Because it's 11:30 now.
Yeah, we'll probably have to call it soon.
But I don't know if it's my favourite, but the one that's had the biggest impact on me is The Lord of the Rings, without a shadow of a doubt. I wouldn't be here now if it wasn't for that book.
Would it be man I am today?
No, not exactly. I don't know whether that's a good thing, but I would say that the Lord of the Rings.
And I would say that even though I said it was a bit shit when I reread it, I would still say the Dragonlance series was still one of my first fantasy series that I read, and it definitely had an impact on me. So.
Yeah. So, assuming we're going to, we will still be locked down next week for our live chat. Should we do it about books?
Maybe we should.
Have them tune in, and you can always throw what your favourite acts are beforehand. You can either put them in the comments to this video, or when we put out the advert next week for our live chat, we could do it about books.
I think we could. I think we could do a whole. I reckon we could easily get a whole live session talking about books and stuff like that.
Elric. Sorry,
Matt says, did you read the expanded mythos from Tolkien? Is that called the Silmarillion?
Silmarillion was just the beginning,
which
I have read about 5 or 6 times, and I do really like. I have read much of the expanded mythos, but I've only really seriously read the Unfinished Tales and the Silmarillion. The rest of them I kind of glossed over because they're really boring. And they're just kind of pieced together.
So like book 5+ from The Wheels of Time.
No, different to that. They're like fragments of encyclopedias stuck together by a madman.
Oh, okay.
The Laser Balerion is like a 20,000 line poem.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think that's what we're going to be doing next week. Next week we're going to be talking about
fantasy books. Will be a great show. Okay, next week we'll do fantasy books.
I don't think it even needs to be fantasy. I think just generally favourite fiction books, maybe.
Oh no, keep it fancy. We've only got an hour and a half.
So you're like, I'm barely going to be able to cover fancy in an hour and a half, mate. I'm going to have to cut it down severely.
Silmarillion, everything after the Silmarillion or the Silmarillion onwards was completed by Christopher Tolkien. Matt. So Unfinished Tales was, but the Silmarillion was as well. It was published after Tolkien was dead.
So there we go. That's going to be next week. I think that's probably us done it for this week.
I think
SoulBound definitely looking like we got off a bit of subject as usual, but SoulBound definitely looking like it could be interesting. Whether we get a chance to play it or not is another thing, but it'd be interesting if we do manage to get that far.
I heard that one day Peter Jackson was going to have a crack at it, but it would be about 1,000 films. There's so much stuff in the Silmarillion. If you do read the Silmarillion, VJ, and I suggest you do persevere beyond the first 60 pages, because the first 60 pages are really quite hard going. But then it gets good. It's like it's split into different sections, and it's very, very esoteric. The first bit, it's a bit weird, and you don't quite know what's going on. But then the rest of it is the bee's knees.
I wonder if he would go the other way entirely, and where he made like 3 massive films at the Hobbits, whether he makes like a 20-minute short out of the Silmarillion or something like that. But no, I'm not doing trilogies anymore. No, this one's going to be shot in one 45-minute straight to TV special, and that's it.
There's so much in the Silmarillion, so much in it, and he could tie it into the films as well, because the end of the Silmarillion, I think it is, talks about the making of the Rings of Power and everything, and kind of the immediate run up to the Lord of the Rings. So you could really kind of dovetail them all nicely. But I couldn't. The Hobbit films are totally awful. I couldn't possibly bring myself to go and see them. I don't think.
Would you class? I guess it's the wrong era, but I mean, I loved Good Omens. That was brilliant, and the TV adaptation they did was brilliant as well. I thought.
I enjoyed it. I didn't enjoy it as much as the book. I must be 30 years or more since I read the book, but I really enjoyed the book when I read it. Good Omens is a good book.
We got to call that fancy, really.
I'm a big fan of Neil Gaiman. I read and didn't particularly like American Gods, and I stopped watching the TV program because I didn't like it.
I never go around to that one. That's on my list of stuff that I'll never watch. So it's getting bigger, that list. Yeah, mine is too. I thought on what lockdown I might watch more TV, but I've actually watched less. No, I think we say this every week. Lockdown is not granting us additional time. we have less. It has and it hasn't. Perhaps this is another subject for another chat. But it has and hasn't. I've made more videos, and I've been doing the SoulBound stuff. I've been doing a bit more painting. But that's true. We do have 4 Necromunda gangs fully painted. Yeah, for a recreational point of view, like watching TV, there's been nothing, because my son's been up till 10 o'clock at night on the TV bloody playing Overwatch, so there's no time to watch anything after that. That is the problem. Once you get children past a certain age, they don't go to bed till later, so they steal your entire evening, because you can't just... It's much less easy to say, right, I'm going to go off and do my own thing. It's like your son's there, you kind of feel like you have to be with them to an extent until they get... Oh, well, mine just puts his headphones on and plays Overwatch from the moment his brother's gone to bed about 8:30. Yeah. They're locked down bedtime's about 8:30. He then spends the next hour and a half playing Overwatch and yelling at his friends. So Joe and I sit on the dining room table with a laptop watching an episode of Morse or something. I'd be like, sod off, you can go upstairs or something, I don't care. Yeah, well, we kind of got to that point, but it's really difficult because that Overwatch is his social interaction as well. And he kind of, when he can actually really not let his hair down, but kind of relax a bit. So we don't want to stop him. Time for a TV in his room. Go on. Well, you see, I don't want to put a TV and an Xbox in his room, so I'm trying to avoid that. I just that we put one in our room, so that we could go and watch TV upstairs. But Joe doesn't want to do that. I think it's one of those things that she thinks is, how you have certain. Getting very off tangent now. You have certain things in life, like my dad thought that tomato ketchup was really common. Yeah. And if you had tomato ketchup, then you were basically scum. If it wasn't mayonnaise, you might as well get out. Yeah, and brown sauce was even worse. Like brown sauce was for just the. Where's your flat cap? Yeah, basically. Bastard. And that's how my dad. That's how my dad. Was always like very scathing about people who had brown sauce. And Joe is a bit like that about TVs in the bedroom. So it's interesting. See, I don't think I have anything like that, which tells me that I'm the lowest common denominator. I have a few things. Sounds like parents need a second TV. We probably do need a second TV, but we haven't got anywhere to put one. What about curry sauce? Well, Jeff, I didn't know you were in, Jeff. Hello, Jeff. Curry sauce is a funny one, because I'd never, probably because of my dad, until I went to university, I didn't know what curry sauce was.
And then I discovered this amazing stuff called curry sauce, which my wife does really like, and she likes brown sauce too. So that's why it explains why my dad's never spoken to her.
So your dad must have been just completely disappointed when you brought the wife home to meet the parents.
Yeah. VJ's not a fan of a TV in the bedroom. No, I don't. It's not something I want to do. It's just the way it's set up.
MacLeod will disagree with you. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. we haven't got anywhere else to put one. Where we could watch TV. That's the only room. But I want them because my wife now has taken the spare bedroom as an office because she works from home full time. So we are a bit stuck. So I think at some point the TV in the bedroom is going to have to come because soon my middle son will be old enough to want to play and yet shout at his friends all evening too, and then we've got a real problem.
Yeah, then you're really going to have to start thinking about what you do. I'm still trying to think of something that I've got that I hate people doing, so I really think I'm at the bottom of the scale. Ear piercings on toddlers.
That's pretty bad. Yeah.
I haven't got many others. Oh well, I'll just be bottom of the scale.
Where do we stand on daddy's sauce? It's that's just brown sauce, isn't it? Really, it's condiment. Yeah. My dad would probably think that was worse than HP. At least HP's got the Houses of Parliament on it.
My sister used to let her son have his Sunday roast with ketchup, and I think I drew the line on that one. I was like, "Why are you? That's just wrong. Don't do that."
Oh yeah, that is wrong. Naming kids after locations. Yeah, that can be bad.
Isn't your child's name Paris? Yes, I don't see what the problem is. Who's that? It was Katie. What's
Double barrel first name.
Katie Hopkins.
Anonymous just spent the evening trying to learn Deathwatch RPG and playing Blood Bowl. Oh.
Well done.
So the Deathwatch RPG, what is that? Because it came up earlier in the chat. That's not Wrath and Glory, is it? The newish one, 40k one. Jeff, if you're still there. Naming kids after cars is worse. The old Fantasy Flight ones. Okay, so that's what I think Wrath and Glory is based on that, isn't it? It's cheap on Humble Bundle right now. I see.
There we go. I'm going to have to go away now and try and work out what things I draw the line on because there's not many.
You live in Crawley, so if there were too many things, you'd just go nuts.
Sorry?
You live in Crawley, so if there were too many of those things, you'd just go nuts. Everybody would drive you insane. Well, you're practically royalty.
Massive exhausts on cars. Does my head in. Massive
exhausts on cars, yeah. Wrath and Glory is much more streamlined, I think. Yeah, it's pretty smart, Wrath and Glory. We'll cover that, hopefully, if I get time.
Possibly should have covered it tonight on our roleplay session discussion.
I haven't read enough of it. My head's all full of SoulBound. Well, be like Musk, Musk and your child after a mathematical equation, yeah.
Yeah, well, that kid's only getting called twatface when he gets to school anyway, so, you know.
Yeah, I mean, he needs to... Basically, that kid needs to ring up Duncan Jones and talk to him about what to do.
Duncan Jones?
Duncan Jones, yeah, the guy who directed Moon is also David Bowie's son. So he's called... I think he's called Zowie.
Yeah, Zowie Bowie used to be called,
yeah. So... Yeah.
Right, well, I think that's enough nonsense for tonight, and I think we're going to have to call it there, folks.
Yes, I think so.
So next week,
I can't remember what Elon Musk's
books.
child actually is called, Matt, but it is something. It's almost as bad as being called Pi.
No, Pi would have been a blessing in comparison to what he's called him. It's some weird shit. It's just stupid. Google it, and Google will probably... Yeah, it's nonsense.
Our kids have got very ordinary names.
Yeah. All our kids have very, very normal names. Both of mine... Actually, I think they're almost, I mean, not intentionally biblical, but I think they're both biblical names. They're like, they're certainly not anything weird.
No, one of mine is definitely biblical.
Yeah, well, the way you called him Jesus, I don't know, mate. That's just a bit weird. So, we shall see you soon in the Beast Grade, guys. We'll catch up next week and we'll be talking about fantasy books.
Google it would be a brilliant name. Yeah, Google it would be a good name. Or just Google. You'd look yourself up on Google. Not funny.
Yeah, the things you could do. And then the minute your child can, they'll change it to something else like Derek.
The way he pronounced the mathematical equation, apparently he's Ash. So he didn't think it was too bad. Noxtier says, well, that's possibly true, but the son is going to say, oh, so you're called Ash. So how's that spelled? ASH? No.
I'll tell you what does piss me off, though. What does piss me off about kids' names is when they use silent letters in it. It's like my name's Stephen with a silent V on the front or whatever. Like, why bother? Just.
You knocking the Irish again?
But it just bugs me. Anyway.
Yeah.
Right. Well, we're going to call it a night there before we insult anybody any further. All these, our Patreon list suddenly drops through the floor when we've just insulted everyone's kids and stuff. But so we'll see you next week, guys, in the Beast Grove, where we're talking about fancy books. Stay safe.
Yes,
Thanks for tuning
next
in.
week. Looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Cheers, everyone.
Stay safe. Bye.
Bye.